What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22. Last time out we were at the Canadian Grand Prix, and after a pretty poor qualifying result we managed to just sneak back into the points thanks to a little bit of luck and a little bit of good fortune and of course some decent driving on my end. And I hope that this form that we're in, this point scoring streak that we've been having, which extends all the way back to that podium we had in Miami, will continue for a 6th race in succession now. We had Miami, we had Spain, we had Monaco, we had Baku, and we had Canada. So that's 5 races in a row. And this could be our 6th if we can grab points here. It is of course the British Grand Prix, which is one that typically always goes well for me. First we've got a few marketing events to get through, all about do you want to spend money to improve your team acclaim? The answer is yes, because if you spend the money now and you boost your team acclaim enough, you can easily make that money back a lot quicker in the future when you sign more sponsors. If you sign an extra sponsor, that's like an extra 500 grand a week. Maybe not that much, but it's well, if you sign a good one, it's that much. And that's, you know, definitely worth spending 50k, 100k here and there now to get there even faster, because the quicker we get there, the more return we get on having an extra sponsor until, well, however long I end up playing this game for. And in fact we have another one here, which is going to be double the acclaim that we would have got for the last one for double the money. And I mean, it's basically the same situation, so I don't see why we shouldn't go for that. You know, even if it is a lot of money, it's going to be worth it in the end, as long as we have enough money to re-sign Enzo Fittipaldi at the halfway point of the season, which will be after the Austrian Grand Prix, the next race. I don't really mind, because that's kind of where my number one priority is at the moment. It's just getting him in the car for next season. I think he should agree to it, unlike Lundgaard, because we haven't gone back in the performance index any. We've only gone forward from the 11th team to the 10th team, so hopefully he will agree to join us for another half of a season. If not, then I guess we'll just get another rookie in the car. We're running out of rookies at this point, but you know, I'm sure there'll be someone. Drugovic, Piastri, Deruvula, Tictum. No, I would never sign Tictum. Yeah, so if he doesn't re-sign, it's not the end of the world, but hopefully he will. Looking at the performance index now, a couple teams have made big strides. We are not one of them, unfortunately, for the time being, but if we can get a few major upgrades on the car with that new Spec 2 aero facility, and I think Spec 2 engine facility is not too far away as well, so hopefully we'll be able to get some more upgrades to make the car go faster in good time. First off, we've got the first practice session at the British Grand Prix, and this should be a good indicator of what my pace is going to be like for the whole weekend. Maybe. I don't think there's any rain forecast for the whole weekend, or if there is, it shouldn't affect me. I don't think there's any in qualifying or in the race. So hopefully we can make a good go of things. At the end of the session, we ended up P1 of all things, but you know, take it with a grain of salt. It's only practice. Just because I'm the fastest in practice, not everyone was going flat out. You see, Max Verstappen set his fastest time on hard tires, so there's definitely no guarantee that this is going to be what qualifying is like by any stretch of the imagination. But you know, it certainly was indicative that we were going to get at least into Q3, hopefully, and maybe get a good result. Which is exactly what we want. You know, it's our home race. It's the team's home race. We want to do what we can to make things as good as they can be. But yeah, that's practice done, and I think we're going to try and get another upgrade on the car. We've got 1,600 resource points to our name. I think it will probably just end up being a durability upgrade. I think that's all we can afford at the moment. But that's okay. Oh, it's actually no, it's an aero upgrade. There's no benefit to rushing that whatsoever, so we're just gonna play it normally, and yeah, that will be on in time for the Hungarian Grand Prix just before the mid-season break, which would be good. I think that's a DRS upgrade, so that will actually be very useful for the one overtaking spot on the whole track in Hungary. Where we get DRS, and maybe, yeah, we'll be able to make up some positions there. I don't typically qualify too well there, so that could actually be a very useful upgrade. Here we are now in qualifying. Come to the end of my first flying lap. It's good enough for P1 at the time, but I'm sure I'll get booted off that top step as more people do their run. You see we were P8 after everyone had done one, and we finished the session with another lap which was good enough for P2. So yeah, I think we are on for a good result here. Maybe we could be looking at even a top 5 or something like that. This could be really exciting. Sergio Perez's time there I think was a bit too far away for me to touch, but who knows, maybe there's more pace in this car than I realise. Fittipaldi in last, it's a bit of a shame that I'm this far up and he can't get off the back of the grid. That doesn't change the fact that I still want him for next season though, or not next season, but the next half of the season, maybe next season. Although I'll let you guys in on a little secret in a minute as we're going around on my full flying lap, which I'm about to show you. We set a 1:28.3, which was about as good as our first flying lap in Q1. And now here's a full flying lap, my second lap in Q2. So the secret I'll let you in on is that I've found that until you've got sort of maxed out facilities, it's actually a pretty good idea to keep signing sort of younger, inexperienced drivers who cost a lot less than the more experienced older drivers who were in Formula 1 before, because, you know, it costs like 10 million or more to sign pretty much anyone who you would want to get, and that's enough money to spend on an entire facility upgrade, whereas you can easily get a F2 driver for, you know, a few, you know, maybe $1 million or something like that. It's way less expensive. So until I've got sort of maxed out facilities, or at the very least all Spec 3 facilities, I'll probably continue signing F2 drivers on 1-year contracts, and we'll see what we can do from there. It's a pretty good lap so far. I think we did the first one on a used set, but still, to be 6/10 up at this point is pretty good. We're already in P9, so we don't necessarily even need to finish this lap, but I will finish it just to, we can sort of do a where would I have been if it had mattered. Not that it does. 7/10 up now as we come to the line. It's going to be a 1:27.6, and it's good enough to get us onto provisional pole. Okay, now we're talking. If we can replicate a lap like that in Q3, we could be on for something really good there. It was only 300ths faster than Leclerc's lap, so we still need to see some serious improvement if we want to cement ourselves in that pole position. But who knows what we might be capable of. Here we go now on our first flying lap. This will be on a used set again. It was a 1:28.2. That's about as good as the laps we've typically been doing on used sets of softs, so I'm not too concerned at this point. Now here we go for our final flying lap of the weekend. Can we do the impossible in a Jaguar? Can we put it on pole? First corner doesn't go amazingly, and I'm already down against my used set run. But now we're on fresher tyres. That just allows us to brake a little bit later, turn in a bit more aggressively, and have the confidence that there's going to be a bit more grip there. And I'm using every little bit of that I can. Regardless of what happens, I'm going to be qualifying 7th or faster, which is already good enough for me. But we'll see what we can do with regards to other things. I go a bit slower there. We fast forward through Maggots and Beckett's and all of that. You see I've had 2 purple sectors so far. I'm feeling really good about this. I just need to not bottle the rest of the lap. We go pretty well through that's not Brooklands. I don't know which corner that is, I'll be honest. I don't know the names of a lot of corners here, but anyway, we're missing out on the action, which is the fact that I'm going to be about 9/10 up, maybe slightly more as we cross the line. It's good enough for a 1:27.2. Get in there. For the first time in my Formula 1 career, we finally get a pole position. And it only took, this is what, race number 33, 32, something like that. Yeah, fantastic result. I'm very, very happy with that, and hopefully, maybe we can convert that into a race win.
Once again, of our top 3, Robinson, Russell, and Lewis Hamilton. With qualifying wrapped up now, we have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Look at that. Look at that. 5/10 between myself and Russell. It's also an all-British top 4 the front 2 rows are myself, Russell, then Hamilton, Norris. At the British Grand Prix, you can tell that the crowd will be cheering like crazy about that, and given that I was the underdog, they'll be especially happy. That's going to get us a tasty boost to our acclaim. Hopefully we can continue boosting that with a race win, or at least a podium in the ensuing race. We'll see what happens. The cars around us are going to be mighty quick. Just because my 1 lap pace is good doesn't mean my race pace on tyres other than soft tyres is going to be good. But we can see where we'll go, and hope and pray that the race as well goes just as well as that qualifying session did. I was elated with that, to be honest with you, when it happened, and just thinking about how I could potentially convert it. It looks like it might rain late in the race, but there's no guarantee that we're going to make it that far, so hopefully we can do well as we now get into the race.
Great Britain then, one of only 2 countries to have held a Grand Prix in every year of the Formula One World Championship. And that record extends further for today's Grand Prix. The 3.6 miles of Silverstone Circuit in Great Britain is hallowed ground to the Formula One faithful. We have 18 corners that wrap around this former World War II airbase, and some good passing opportunities at the end of the DRS zones. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Robinson lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Norris, Charles Leclerc and Perez, Vettel, Sainz, Fernando Alonso and Max Verstappen, Ocon, Magnussen, Daniel Ricciardo and Albon, Mick Schumacher, Tsunoda, Guan Yu Zhou and Pierre Gasly, Latifi, Schwartzman, Fittipaldi and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for today's race. Can we begin by having a chat about Charles Leclerc? That was a great win in the last race, but can they keep that momentum going into this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
I know this is your home Grand Prix, but treat it like any other race. Let's not make any unnecessary risks.
Shut up, Mark. I'm taking all the unnecessary risks, as is everyone in this top 4. We all want to win it. Only one of us can. One of us won't even stand on the podium.
Okay, so let's go through all the
Potentially. Could be even more of us.
Is okay before the start. We're going to want to put some temperature into the tyres and brakes. We need to keep the engine cool though, so don't go too high with the revs.
I get a little bit excited off the start and go a little bit further ahead than everyone else, but by the time we line up on the grid, I've had everyone else catch up to me. We do have a worn engine component, but it's not going to be too much of a concern in the race. We'll definitely be able to get to the end on it. We might be a little bit slower, but on the evidence of what we saw in qualifying, that might not matter. We're just waiting for the rest of the grid to line up now, as Jaguar Racing lines up in the front row and the back row of the grid. And now here we go. The lights are coming on. And the lights go out. Here we go. It's a pretty good start. It looks like we've just about managed to start pulling away from George Russell. He probably will attack us into the first corner, but we managed to stay ahead for now. So we stay in the lead of the race. This is the second time this season we've been leading a Grand Prix in the first lap. Let's see what we can do to hold on to it. As I said before, we've got that MGUK issue, which Mark is drawing attention to now, but it shouldn't affect us for the whole race. I'm burning battery like crazy trying to hold off George Russell behind. All I want to do is pull a 2013 Sebastian Vettel and check the hell out of this race. If I can pull away from these guys and just leave, that's the ideal scenario. If I can drop Russell by a second before they get DRS, that would be perfect. But they are closing me down like crazy, and George Russell sends one up the inside at Cobbs and he's got ahead. Maybe I can attack him back on the, I think it's called the Hamilton straight now. And speaking of Hamilton, through maggots and Beckett's, he pulls off an audacious overtake, and suddenly I find myself on the fringes of the podium, and I'm definitely going to be closed down by that other Brit. Lando Norris. So I need to get my arse in gear immediately. I've had a bit of a shaky start, and at this point I really just want Mark to shut the hell up. He's saying so much at the moment, and you can see in a second I'm going to start scrabbling around on the radio trying to find engineer quiet or whatever it's called, because it is distracting me so much as I even go off the track a little bit there and have to narrowly avoid running over the sausage curb. Fortunately I don't pick up any damage just yet, but you can see I'm getting so distracted going through these corners. And then as soon as I go to press the fewer updates button, Mark says something else on the bloody radio. I'm going crazy right now, and yeah, hopefully I can start to recuperate in this race, and maybe Mark will be a bit quieter now. But it was so distracting. He was telling me so much about the MGUK and the energy store and everything, and I just really wanted him to be quiet. And as a result, we've lost out to both of the Mercedes. It's still a British all podium, all first two rows, but yeah, we are not the one leading that train anymore, unfortunately, and the Mercedes have already broken DRS to me. So now I'm going to be under pressure from Lando Norris, from Charles Leclerc, from Carlos Sainz, and whoever else is behind in those minor points positions. I'm really struggling for grip. The car feels really heavy compared to how it felt in qualifying, and this was really, really uncomfortable for me. It felt like these guys had way more downforce through the corners. I don't know if I overfueled the car or what was going on here, but I just felt like I had no grip to fight these guys with. Lando Norris briefly gets ahead of me as we go through whatever the name of that corner is. I probably will remember it at some point, but it's escaped me for now. Is it Stowe?
Okay, DRS will be enabled at this lap. You can use it when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
In any case, I managed to keep Norris behind for now, but I'm sure that either him or Leclerc, who are fighting with each other, will catch up to me at some point, and indeed that has happened. As you can see here, Leclerc is now closing me down, and he just gets ahead of me as we go through the first corner. But you know, I will have the DRS as we go into the first of the two straights. I think actually the first straight is the Hamilton straight, and the second one is the Hangar straight. I know nothing about this track or the names of the corners. It's a bit embarrassing, really. I know Maggots and Beckett's. I know Cops for obvious reasons, and that's really about it. I try and attack him into the corner at the end of the Hamilton straight, but to no avail. And I keep trying to attack him, but he's just a little bit too fast and a little bit too... my tyres don't have more grip than his, that's for sure and certain, so there's no way I'm getting around him or getting, you know, up the inside of him with more grip and the switchback or anything like that. I'm going to have to pull off this overtake cleanly and fairly. There's no sort of shenanigans that can be going on here. I just need everything to go my way as we come into the Hangar straight now. I'll have the DRS once again. I no doubt burning the battery on Leclerc as well. We're going to go up the inside. Can we make it work? He's going to hold on around the outside, and we go wheel to wheel, and he just about manages to stay ahead. But I'm very close to him, and perhaps I could attempt to move as we go around the outside of that next corner. The final few corners, I'll have the inside for this one, and as we come towards the finish line, I will be narrowly ahead of him, and I think I might have been burning battery here to stay ahead of him. And so in the pretty much exact same spot that we lost P3 on the previous lap, we regain P3, and now we're back on track, and I'm sure that this battle with Leclerc is going to continue for many more laps to come yet if we want to retain the final place on the podium. Getting a podium at my home Grand Prix would be a dream. Obviously getting a win would be even better, but you have to remember we're still not in one of the fastest cars on the grid. We just about hang on around the outside. These tyres just are so dead, really. But I managed to just about stay wheel to wheel with Leclerc, and that allows me to go past him up the inside after he's overtaken me. So I retain P3 for now, but he is having such a better race than me right now in terms of his overall pace. We go wheel to wheel through Maggots and Beckett's. I just about managed to keep him behind again. I'm really struggling to to keep him behind though. He's got way more pace than me, he's got way more grip than me, he's got way more everything than me. I think Russell and Hamilton are dueling for first up front, but I need to focus on keeping the 2 cars behind me rather than keeping the 2 cars ahead of me slightly less ahead of me. I think Leclerc and Perez held each other up some. One of them, McLaren's, is into the pits. I think that might have been Ricciardo, but I'm not 100% sure. My teammate also into the pits. I don't know if there was a collision or whether they're just pitting early. I guess it will remain to be seen. But yeah, we need to get on with this race. And lap 12, you see that Perez has got ahead of Leclerc at this point, and Leclerc's fallen out of DRS range. Perez did not fall out of DRS range, and he absolutely breezes past me on the Hamilton straight. But perhaps we can attack him back into these ensuing corners. We go for a move up his inside because he's now run out of grip on his tyres as well, and that just about allows me to go through. But yeah, he's definitely going to attack me back before this lap is over, I'm sure of it. He's got way superior pace. I'm not sure what the fastest car at the moment is. I think it is still the Red Bull, just about. Obviously Perez at this point, I believe, is our championship leader, although don't quote me on that, I'm not 100% sure of it. So yeah, we're battling currently the man who is in pole position for the World Championship, although I'm sure Leclerc, Verstappen and Norris would all like to do something about that, maybe even Mercedes if they can get themselves involved as well. We dive into the pits now. We're going to set a set of hard tyres on the car and see if we can go to the end on those. Maybe pull off an undercut on the cars around us to extend the gap between myself and Leclerc and myself and Perez. We'll have to wait and see what happens as we dive into the pits. Hamilton actually managed to get out ahead of us, so that just shows how far ahead the Mercedes were compared to us. Change the tyres. It's a pretty good stop, 2.5 seconds. Not unhappy about that at all, and that will allow us to begin to fight with the cars around us. You see we've got Alonso behind us. Hopefully we'll be able to pull away from him. It's a slow pit stop, so as soon as we get up to speed we're going to rapidly get away from him. We definitely crossed the white line there, but apparently the stewards are not checking for that today, so I don't know. And yeah, these tyres are freezing, if you couldn't tell by the fact that I'm missing all of these corners or having to brake super early. But I eventually get them up to temperature. I managed to keep Ricciardo just outside of my DRS window, and now we're going to see where we are in relation to Norris and Leclerc. We get out just ahead of Norris. Leclerc is ahead of us, but he's going to have cold tyres, so I think we might be able to make a move on him at an unconventional spot. And we go around the outside as we approach the Hamilton straight. We're going to have the DRS and we have the battery, and we managed to retake the position off him. I think Perez is yet to pit, and I'm not sure who the other driver yet to pit is. But we are either in P3 or P4. It's Sainz, so we could actually be in P5 depending on where Sainz comes out. So we're going to see where we are in relation to Sainz and Perez. Leclerc attacks me right as we go past the pit lane, and Sainz filters back out into around sort of P7 or 8, I think that is. But Perez is a long way up the road, over a second in front, and even if I do catch up to him, he will warm up the tyres and get away quickly. We won't have DRS because we weren't within a second at the DRS detection point, so I think we might have fallen out of the podium position unless we do something drastic now, basically. These are, as Martin Brundle once said at a different British Grand Prix, these are critical corners if we want to stay in with a chance of getting that podium. Lap 18 now, and we're having a look at Alex Albon as he comes through Maggots and Beckett's. You always know what's going to happen in these scenarios. I don't think I have to tell you. He runs wide, he's slowing down, lots of people are now getting ahead of him. Not that Alfa Romeo though, they felt like going behind him for a bit as he moves more towards the inside of the track. Makes no sense. And then pulls off with a puff of smoke, and that is the Mercedes engine in the back of that Williams gone. Lap 19, and you see Perez unfortunately has pulled away, so now we're fighting for P4. The only way we're going to get on the podium is if someone ahead of us has a spin or a crash or a mechanical failure. And that's pretty much the only scenario in which that happens for us, I think. But we'll see what we can do. Leclerc attacks us once more, but we managed to hold him off just for now. We still are going to have 7 laps of battling with this guy if we want to retain this position. He attacks us again as we come into Copse Corner, and Norris is pretty close behind as well. These guys are you know, absolutely going for it. I think I might have made a bit of contact with Leclerc there. I think we probably got away with it though. Norris is having a look, Verstappen's having a look, Alonso's not too far off as well. I am Jarno Trulli right now. There is no doubt about that. I am holding them up a treat, and I am enjoying doing it because every position I hold now is 2 more points in the World Championship and 2 more points that I finish ahead of Alpine, crucially, who were in the battle for P5 over, and that is going to be a significant amount of money. I'm sure of that. I think Verstappen and Norris had a bit of a battle there, which meant that they've kind of fallen away from this look in for P4, and I can just focus on defending from Leclerc and not having to worry about defending from lots of people. In the end, actually, it's Alonso who gets through into P6 as we're now on lap 25, and we're coming around to the final lap. Charles Leclerc has another go at us up our inside. Is he going to make the move happen? He just stays behind me for now, but you can see he's still so close that I can't put a foot wrong if I want to hold on to this P4. It's going to be 12 points. It's going to be a big result for us. They always are. No matter how the race goes, I always feel like when we score points, we score big. But first of all, we've got to hold off Leclerc just for one more lap if we want to stay P5 or P4 rather. If we want him to stay P5, I should say. He's going to have the DRS. We've definitely got enough battery to carry us around this lap. I was being economic with it for a reason as we went up to this final lap, because I knew that there would be he would be doing everything out of sheer desperation to get into this P4. He's fighting for the World Championship, don't you forget. So he's going to be just as hungry for this position as I am. I've got nothing to prove really other than beating Alpine, whereas he's got defending his entire World Championship that he won last season on the cards. So he is going to be battling me the whole way. We're wheel to wheel through Maggots and Beckett's again. I just managed to hold the position even though I'm on the other side of the track this time. It doesn't matter where I am, I'm always going to hold him up. He's going to have DRS as we come down the final hangar straight, and I'm going to be burning battery the whole way. He's closing, but he's not closing quickly enough. I think we're just going to manage to keep him behind. He's effectively got one more position where he might be able to make this move work, and he's going to have to go for a dive bomb. Is he going to go for it? No, he doesn't. The only way he can get me now is if he outdrags me to the line. I'm probably going to be burning battery. For some reason I'm not. Don't ask me why, but we get away with it. And it's P4, Leclerc P5. Whoa, that was a scary one. Unfortunate, given that we started in P1 to only come away with a P4 in that race. But man, I mean, they made me work even for that.
Then a fantastic British Grand Prix, and what a performance it was from our race winners today. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners.
Congratulations to George and also Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez, who finished the podium. Could Mercedes be in with a look at the championship? Could we potentially be looking at a 6-way fight for P1? We're looking at a 4-way fight at the moment. Perez, Verstappen, Leclerc and Norris. But could the Mercedes be slowly battling their way back into this after a string of poor results to begin?
It's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. A result that will make Sergio Perez happy as he pushes his championship lead out even further. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Daniel Ricciardo certainly impressed me today, an incredible performance.
It's time to check out the Constructors' standings. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. There was also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today as they make their way up the standings. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
If you'd have told me at this time last season, or even after like 14 races of last season, if you'd have told me that we would be 66 points off the lead of the championship after 10 races, I would have told you there's no way. There's absolutely no way. Mostly because I remember how much of a dominant season Ferrari were having this time last year, and that, you know, there would have been no way that the championship leader would only have 140 points by this point in the season. That's an average of only 14 points per race, which is lower than an average P3 finish, if you think about it in those terms. So yeah, I think the championship is still wide open for pretty much anyone down to Hamilton. I simply don't think our car quite has enough pace in it to be a consistent sort of top 5 competitor. I mean, you've seen it, right? You know, we didn't have the pace in Canada. We didn't really have the pace in Bahrain if it weren't for that late safety car, and we had a couple of DNFs as well, which are going to be costly towards the end of the season. I just don't think there's enough in the car to warrant looking at a championship challenge. But it's certainly encouraging for next season. If we can continue developing the car, season 3 we could be in with a real shout of looking at the championship. And if not, then definitely season 4. I think we're going to be in for a good one if I can negotiate a good sponsor bonus. But the thing is, sponsor bonuses, you either shoot low, like I did this time, thinking that we wouldn't be anywhere near as competitive as we actually were, or you shoot high, and then, you know, the car maybe doesn't develop as much as you think it will. Like, I remember I set one in last year's game, which was to score like, I think it might have been like 50 championship points or something like that. And then we got hard stuck on development because we didn't have any Spec 3 facilities, and you know, a lot of the teams ahead of us, I think, you know, sort of like the top 6 teams or something like that, all had Spec 3 facilities. And so 6 teams had outdeveloped us massively, so the best place we were ever finishing was going to be sort of like P13, 14, that kind of situation. So that's something I'm kind of desperate to avoid, which is why I don't want to make the same mistake of signing a experienced driver again. But we'll see what happens when it comes down to it. Either way, pretty good result. I think Fittipaldi ended up finishing sort of around like 20th or somewhere like that. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, we get all of our sponsor cash. We get a few damage deductions, but we do walk away with a bit of cash from that. And yeah, that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, because we've been doing really well lately, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.